Welcome to this segment of our broadcast. I want to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to you, depending on where you're watching from. Africa, researchers reveal new growth potential of Africa's population. Researchers reveal new growth potential of Africa's population. Growth in population supposed to be a great advantage to the continent if the leaders of various countries on this continent know how to manage the population very well, not to suppress or to curtail or to reduce the population, but to actually look through the population, through different institutions, through different programs and events, through different organizations, to find out different potential among its population. What this population are capable of doing. What are the advantages of the population? I know that everyone, every citizen of every country, everyone that is domiciled in every country, or all the entire number of the population may not actually be very, very skilled in different aspects of life, or professional, or men or women that are well trained, those who are intelligent, very smart, hardworking, but among the population, there are men and women, both young and old, who are inventors, brilliant, who are very smart and intelligent, who are hardworking, who are innovative, who are industrious, who are creative, that have great potentials that, if properly harnessed, developed, supported, invested in, that in turn will bring about all the desired expectation or the vision of the nation where they live or where they are citizens. We know that the China has the highest population in the world. And how were they able to infuse it into the economy to bring about that China is now the sixth world economy? They have the largest population in the world. Okay? But the population was not a disadvantage or a burden to the government, because the leadership was able to harness, was able to channel the growth, was able to, in fact, utilize their added population as an advantage to the growth of the economy of the country. So I know that here in this part of the world, when you say that something is a Chinese product, in those days we used to think that it is fake. China doesn't have a good product when it comes to electronics, when it comes to a handset, which is GSM. You said this one is it was made in China. In those days, we used to think that anything that was made in China is fake, is inferior in quality. But it was later we discovered that the China inventions and products are tailored according to the need of each country. Okay? The Chinese inventions, products, all the things they manufacture, whether it is gadgets, whether it is in tech, whether it is in vehicles and all that, they are tailored. Equipment, machines, they are all tailored according to each country's specification or each country's market, what each country can be able to afford. They tailor it in that way. That you actually have Chinese product that are competing with the Japanese product, with the American product. Okay? In technology, China is now taking over the world. Now, how did that come about? It is the policy of the government to be able to look into the population, to bring out, to decipher, to be able to select, to choose the best of brands among its teeming, numerous populations running into billions. They were extracted and put in different kind of vocational trainings, into different kind of institutions, whether it is government owned or private owned, where their skills were developed, where they had the trainings, the skills, innovative minds that they had were developed, creative minds that they had, they possessed naturally were developed. They couldn't speak English. Many of them don't speak English. Just like some of us, we want to speak English so that we know that we went to school. In China, it is not by the English you speak that will determine or that will prove that actually you went to school. It's by what you're able to invent, what your skill, your smartness, your creative abilities brought to bear in the finishings of the product or the things you manufactured. That will prove that actually you are intelligent. Okay? You see some of all these countries, they speak their dialect, their native languages. They don't bother themselves trying to impress anybody with good English. Yet, they are so populous in their nation. More than the whole world. Next is India. How were they able in medicine? How were they able with their teeming population? Be able to channel it to bring about revolutionization in the medicine sector or in the medical inventions and equipment and all that, whether it is surgery, whether it is patent medicine or orthodox medicine. Okay? So the African population should not be a cost, shouldn't be a burden on the continent. It becomes so because the leaders of different countries in the continent, they don't have the vision on how to manage their population and utilize the advantage or the added growth of the population to the advantage. All they do is suppress. All they do is to quell. All they do is to suffocate. All they do is to strangulate. All they do is to dictate to the population. You must not cross here. You must not do this. You cannot protest. You cannot air your view. You are nobody. We are your leader. That's all they know how to do. They don't know how to tap into the potential, to the ingenuity, to the creativity, the creative abilities that their population possesses. They don't know how to utilize it. They don't know how to diversify it. They don't know how to infuse it back into the country, into the economy, in different aspects of the existence or in different aspects of the life wire of the nation, to ensure growth, to ensure development, to ensure whether it is economy, whether it is agriculture, whether it is science, whether it is research, whether it is innovations. They don't know how to tap into these great potentials in the population and also develop it, harness it, and inject it back into the system in order to develop the country. And by so doing, you develop the continent. They don't know how to do it. Africa, researchers reveal new growth potential of Africa's population. As I said earlier, growth is good. The growth of the population is good. It shouldn't be a burden, but the question is, how are African leaders in different countries on the continent tapping into the potentials and advantages that their population growth is bringing to the table? Okay? Just like when you have children, some family have about 3 children, some have 4, some have 10, some have 7. The problem is not how many your children are, but how you were able to train them, how you are able to raise them, how you are able to tap into their potential, to raise them to become productive, to raise them to add advantage to the family, to bring glory and favor and joy, excitement to the family, and by extension to the community where they belong. That is the question. So, a group of researchers and organizations have come together to bring all their different researches and to make a very strong point looking into the growth, more growth of the African population and what it portends for the continent. That is the focus of this very segment of the broadcast. And my own focus is Nigeria. Over 200 million citizens, over 200 million citizens domiciled, living here in the country, living in Nigeria. What is the government doing to tap into such huge population? What is the government doing? Practically nothing. The population is left to fend for themselves, to figure out how to develop themselves. And by the time they do, the system that is in Nigeria will stifle them. Almost everybody does everything for him or herself in the country. And by the time it seems that they are succeeding, one government obsolete policy or the other will bring them down. One careless mistake of one careless administration will just bring them down. And so this has prompted and increased the quest for fleeing outside the country, the Europe, and in search of greener pastures. And the migration through the Mediterranean Sea and the death and all the casualties. These are Africans who are dying in their numbers. And still, the story of all the disadvantages and all the threats and all the accidents and all that, records of death, being, seen in the Mediterranean travels for greener pastures overseas has not actually deterred some of the African youth from pursuing the same quest. As the news is breaking, as the information, as different organizations are releasing their data of how many African migrants that died at in the Mediterranean Sea, those that died in the Sahara Desert, those that were taken into the Libyan slave camp and all that, slave market and all that. As that news is filtering the air, as it's coming out as a breaking news through different news channels, many more African youths are even preparing to undertake the same task, the same route, to follow the same route, the same Sahara Desert, the same Mediterranean Sea. They are preparing their luggages to still travel because they seem to have no other option due to what the leadership of the country and the continent has, done over the years, making it so difficult for them to see hope and future on the continent or in the country. This is very pathetic. So, as I said minutes ago, the growth of a population should be of a great advantage to the country and to the continent. Now, we are looking into the that these organizations have carried out, stating categorically what is going to be the impact in the nearest future from where we are to where the continent is expected to be in the nearest future. That is the focus of this piece of information. Africa researchers reveal new growth potential of Africa's population. A research collaboration with the Bridgewater Associates, hedge funds researchers, together with advocacy organization, Global Citizen, and Pan-African investor and developer, Harith General Partners, have revealed new growth potential of sub-Saharan Africa's population in a recent research. The organizations showcases multiple decades of expertise in global economic analysis and advocacy to highlight the region's role in shaping future global economy. So, whether you believe it or not, Africa has a role to play in shaping the global economy. That is why most countries of the world who are doing very well, be it Russia, Russia has joined now. Its own interest in Africa is peculiar. Some people may target political, or they are trying to attack certain white interests, colonial, whether it is British, whether it's America, and all whatnot, targeting their interest. It's not so. Africa is a viable economy for the whole world. Africa is hugely blessed. Africa, in all the continents, each country possesses so much resources in the continent, throughout the continent, that will be able to take care of the whole world. Yes, Africa is highly blessed. That is why the whites, Europe cannot afford to lose Africa. Never. In one way or the other, they are trying to see how they perpetuate their tentacles, their influences over the continent, because they know what they have benefited so far over centuries from the continent, and what they are going to lose if they somehow relax their influences and allow Africa to decide its fate and control its resources. They know they are going to lose a lot, and they cannot afford to lose it. That is why, in one way or the other, they try to create wars, cause chaos, and they will come back as middlemen, or they will come back to settle you, and then the negotiation will be in their own terms that will favor them. And then whichever party that is declared the winner of the case will now become subservient to them. And by so doing, they will continue to influence the policies and the governance and the leadership of Africa. And when they do that, they are controlling the resources of the continent. Just like in Nigeria. Why can't Britain leave Nigeria alone? Why? Why is it so difficult for Britain? They say they are the Great Britain. They are great. Yes, Britain has an century-long history of the former great empires of the world. Have they not had enough? What do they lack? Have they not had enough? The entire African country or continent has not even developed up to 30% of the British development in science and in every aspect. The entire continent put together has not even developed up to 30% of British development in invention, in medicine, in politics, in every strata, in every aspect. Britain is far more ahead of the entire continent. But why is it that they are not satisfied? Why? So this statistics and this research is saying that the organization showcases multiple decades of expertise in global economy analysis and advocacy to highlight the region's role in shaping future global economy. Bridgewater Associates, with almost 50 years experience in mapping cause and effect relationships, driving global economies and markets, features economic forecasting as one of its areas of specialties. The organization has a collaboration with Global Citizen, known for cultural and advocacy work with entertainers and world leaders to end global poverty, and Harith General Partners, in order to provide insight to inspire action from world's richest nations, private sectors, and governments in sub-Saharan Africa. So they said. So according to reports, SSA stands out with a demographic boom that is increasing its share of the global workforce in the light of harnessing the power of demographic change as global population growth slows. Upon the launch, this collaboration aimed at supporting the World Bank's IDA 21 efforts. Reports have widely credited Bridgewater to have worked to better understand the dynamic of sub-Saharan Africa's population growth, its possible implications for the region's role in global economy, suggesting decisions by policymakers, investors, and private sector to provide alternatives. This recent research, Changing Sub-Saharan Africa's Growth Trajectory, highlighted 5 key underlying importance of this demographic shift. Now I'm bringing it to the screen that we may go through it together. According to reports, SSA stands out with a demographic boom that is increasing its share of the global workforce in the light of harnessing the power of demographic change as global population growth slows. Upon the launch of this collaboration aimed at supporting the World Bank's IDA 21's effort, reports have widely credited Bridgewater to have worked to better understand the dynamic of sub-Saharan Africa's population growth, its possible implication for the region's role in global economy, suggesting decisions by policymakers, investors, and private sector to provide alternatives. This recent research, Changing Sub-Saharan Africa's Growth Trajectory, highlighted 5 key underlying importance of this demographic shift. It pointed out that sub-Saharan Africa is undergoing demographic transformation that will possibly impact regional and global economies and geopolitics, projecting the region's global workforce or working age population to grow from 10 to 25% in the upcoming decade or in the coming decades. Adding that there is diversity in the region. Sub-Saharan Africa is not a monolithic entity. It's not a monolithic entity. Also, is the fact of variation among countries, each with unique development needs, which requires unique solutions. So this is very important. Also, the fact of variation among countries, each with unique development needs, which requires unique solutions. So each of the countries on the continent has a unique need of development. Their development need is unique, and because of that, it requires unique solutions. So it is for Nigeria, for instance, Ghana, for instance, Ivory Coast, for instance, Burkina Faso, for instance, Liberia, and all other countries on the continent to identify their unique development needs. In which area are they supposed to develop? In which area should they develop? In which aspect of the economy, in which aspect of the country do they need development? And so they should also find a unique solution in order to meet that unique development. The research acknowledges the challenges of low productivity, yes, insufficient investment, and high debt burdens as common, but not in same degree. Yes, there is low productivity in different countries of Africa continent, insufficient investment, high debt burdens on each country from World Bank, IMF, and all that. But they are not in the same degree. Okay? It advises that investment and policies must be customized to fit local dynamics, including politics, history, and natural resource distribution. That is very, very correct. That is it. Thank you for watching, and bye bye from here.